Christina Phillips. Welcome. We're here to talk about Puure, organic underwear fashion line that you've created.
Yes.
And part of that will look toward the Shaping Connecticut's Future event on entrepreneurship, where this is part of that pitch competition. And we're really eager to hear more about Puure.
Yes, thank you so much.
So I guess take us a little bit through the journey that got you into the entrepreneurial mindset and kick-started Puure, so to speak.
Well, the journey started a long time ago. Because Puure is actually my second venture. My first venture was women's
Congrats.
clothing. Thank you. My sister and I, started back in 2014 in our women's clothing line, and we went 6 years doing that. Had a great time, learned a lot, learned a lot of lessons, and decided to close in 2020. So I actually relocated from New York to Connecticut and decided to get my MBA. And
Okay.
I was in a class during my MBA program, and one of my assignments was to come up with a business idea and think of a problem, a solution that you can pretty much go through the whole business model canvas of developing this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it. Like, I always had underwear in my brain, and I always say I'm going to start an underwear line at some point. But I hadn't thought through what the issue was. And then I'm like, my background's in manufacturing. I worked for wholesale companies for 15 years in bedding, bath products, various categories, eyewear. So I always saw the manufacturing side when they're making product, when they're testing product, and how products always fail when they come into the U.S. And I realized also a lot of products are not tested as the retailer acts. So kind of using that, putting that cap on, and thinking about my experience, with the women's clothing line, I thought about, wait, there's also the fact that I had fibroids, which is benign tumors that grow in the uterus, and these are things that something I'd battled with from since I was a child. I had really bad, heavy menstrual, very painful. So I just started thinking, wait a minute, I know that these chemicals are in this fabric, and I know that it kind of just came together. I said, wait, is there a connection here? So let me just start researching. Started researching for this project at school, and realized wait, there is a connection. There's a connection between formaldehyde and fibroids, or the chlorine in they use to clean the fabrics, and the dyes and the pesticides they use to grow cotton. There's all connected to some kind of health issue, some kind of reproductive issue. And I'm like, well, so is this the reason why I've been having so many issues? And it kind of just went from there. I used that for I had to do the research, of course, for the project, and it kind of led to something bigger. Me just putting my head, my experience, with my personal experience, with my professional experience, I realized there was a connection there that no one really talked about.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of how it happened.
Part entrepreneur, part chemist, part...
just taking all my resources and kind of pulling it together, and something that I didn't really know that was going to happen kind of happened.
So what's the growth been like, or what's it been like to date?
So this was happening in probably 2023. So it's been almost 2 years now that I actually launched. Well, it's 2 years this month. That I actually started my business. I started the process. So me going to UConn for my MBA really helped me, because I was able to go through the process of developing the business, had the resources there. I went through a ton of accelerator programs to kind of develop the idea and make sure that I was on the right track of developing the business. So it took me 2 years, and I finally launched. I had to do a lot of sourcing. I went to Paris to the underwear Interfilier show.
Tough research.
Yeah, I know. I was just so sad I had to go to Paris, but went to the Interfilier, saw a bunch of manufacturers, went to New York, of course, to the apparel sourcing shows, and I really had to find a manufacturer that was clean, that had all the certifications. They were GOT certified, Okotek certified. They had fair trade standards. I didn't want anyone who, had to be sustainable, but also had to be fair to workers, just all of that. So it was a tough process. It took me almost a year and a half to find a manufacturer, because then you have to make sure they actually can do the work. And, I had to go and test. It took me forever to just go through, have them sample product and get it right, and then testing. So it was a bit of a journey, but it was a fun journey. I brought on some friends that I'd known, old coworkers that I'd known in the manufacturing days. I had one. She was someone who just knew about sourcing. She knew how to work at factories, and she knew she didn't take from any factory. So I was like, you have to be on here, because you have to whip them into shape. And then I hired someone who was a former Victoria's Secret product development person. in. She worked for various intimates company in the industry, and I wanted her to help me develop the product because I wanted to make sure not only that it was safe for the body, but also it fit, it was comfortable, and it was serving. It was helping customers with whatever pain point they had at the time.
Yeah, I was going to ask about your sort of design inspiration, or how you are you a entrepreneur, chemist, and fashion designer?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit, I had experience from my previous venture of design. My sister was the main designer, but I picked up a thing or two. So I knew what I wanted it to look like, but I also wanted to have someone who had experience with the technicalities of like how things should fit. And, when I'm working with a factory, I get to send tech packs and measurements and such. And those are things that someone with training should be doing. But also I wanted to make sure that what I did actually initially is I did a survey to women in my, whoever I could get. And I did an initial survey to kind of get some customer discovery, understand what they were looking for. So I said, have you ever heard of this problem before? Has it ever come up to you? Now that you know about this problem, would you change what you wear? And with your current underwear, what are some of the problems you're having? And I got, bad fit. Can't find, cotton comfort. I had the crotch was always too narrow. I had all these things, and that really helped me shape what I wanted to put in my underwear, how I wanted to build my underwear. I wanted to be comfortable. We made wider gussets so that they didn't have the issue with the narrow, narrow crotches. I did like a little bit more full coverage, no elastic, so it's not digging into the waist. That was another issue. Super soft cotton. I wanted to make sure it was soft to the hand, so we found the softest cotton we could find, and that was tough because cotton can be a little coarse sometimes. And also the sizing, which is funny because I said, what styles do you want to see? I did like 2 surveys. I wanted to make sure we built it correctly, Well, and they picked the styles they wanted. And now, of course, I picked 2 styles, 2 panties, a bikini and a high waist panty and a bralette. Now they're like, where's the thongs? I'm like, you didn't say you wanted a thong. So now I have to go back and I wanted the customers' input. I wanted people to feel like I was building a product for them. So, but it was a journey, honestly. But most importantly, I wanted to make sure it was safe. And, that process was just going through, working with the factory, making sure we third-party test everything. So.
And currently, you're through the site, or do you have any?
Yeah, so we are strictly e-commerce right now. I do plan to hopefully one day go out to retailers, but I wanted to just kind of get some traction first with the .coms and just kind of get more feedback. As well as it's my first run, I wanted to kind of get through that and then come back with the second run to make sure we make any adjustments that need to be made. The first one, you can get it, you can try as best as you can to get it right, but it's always something that comes up, So like the one is like, oh, these sizes may be a little off. I'm like, okay, let me just go back and check to make sure. So, things like that come up. So I want to make sure the second time around, everything's perfect before we go out to retail.
Yeah.
Take us through the brand identity and how you found the brand identity of Puure.
So the brand identity. So honestly, it was funny. So initially I had it was called Clothing Optional. That was supposed to be the name.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I had this name. It came in my brain. I had it written down for like years prior to my Clothing Optional. That's what it'd be called. And of course, I was building it around the women, underwear being something comfortable. You don't, when you want to work around without clothing, but underwear is optional. For me, I'm always in my underwear. So that kind of made sense to me. And it's just the feeling of being free, and I wanted your underwear to feel like you weren't wearing any, you're just comfortable and you're just free. There's no chemicals. You don't have to worry. So that was the premise, and it kind of, when I went to go, of course, trademark the name, it was unavailable. So I had to, brainstorm, figure out ways, and one of my classmates, I was actually in the UConn, the CCEI program, and I was trying to find a name, and they were like, this guy was like, call it Puure, one of the classmates, call it Puure, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense because it is pure. It's just, it's pure underwear. It's organic. It's, it's just basic underwear that's just clean and safe for your body. And what better name to call it than Puure, because that's exactly what it is. It's just easy comfort. And, and that's kind of what it is. And when it comes to developing like the actual identity, it's just about, creating a brand that shows safety, having to just kind of tap into your wellness. It's all about wellness, this brand. It's about, taking steps to take charge of your health. We had manufacturers and big business going out and making these products that weren't safe for our bodies. Now we know. Now we're educated. So now we can start building on our wellness. Yeah. And that's kind of the whole premise of the brand. So I try to shape everything around wellness and health and safety.
Yeah. Is there any tests to make sure that your products are safe and toxin free when you get them, or do you just trust the manufacturer?
So we third party test before we ship. So what we did is we work with a lab, which is US. It's a global lab, and what they do is they do chemical testing. We do, of course, testing to make sure the garment is it's not going to rip. It's no seam issues. But also we did a few chemical testing to make sure. We actually used a test that was according to the standard of the children's standards, which is really intense. Most people, when they tell you that they are going to do a business and they say we're not going to do kids because kids standards are really hard and it can be very expensive to test. Well, we did that because I couldn't have a brand that claims to be safe and not test to make sure there was no chemicals. So we did a bunch of chemical tests to make sure there were no harmful chemicals in the product before we could come forward with these claims.
What are your thoughts on growth? For customer acquisition. What do you think the short-term plan is versus some of that ideal state in the future?
So it's tough right now because we're still trying to figure out who our customer is and how to get them. So I've been trying different things to acquire them, and I haven't really 100% tapped into the digital marketing where I'm going out and doing ads. I'm actually embarking on that now, but the strategy has definitely just kind of been going out and trying to just figure out who they are. So I've been doing a lot of in-person thing, which is people say you're e-commerce, but I feel like I've been doing a lot of like markets, and I just did a big trade show in New Orleans, the Essence Festival, and it's honestly to figure out like who that customer is. I had an idea of who my customer was when I was building the brand, but when I'm heading out there now, finding that customer can be a little tough. And then when you get there, now you're like, wait, this is who I thought I was selling to, but this is who is actually buying it now. So I'm still in that process of really balancing out who that is and really understanding what does that customer acquisition cost? How much is it going to cost me to get them to convert? And that's kind of like me going out and spending money on these big shows, or if I'm spending money in digital marketing. Like right now, I'm still in that process of really understanding what it takes to get to them. So it's a journey. But I see myself kind of just leveling off soon. I said I wanted to do a few in-person stuff here just to kind of get like around the tri-state and then wherever I can. Any show that I've done has something like as a health wellness, or it's like some kind of like organic market or something, just to kind of see what people are saying and they can see it and feel it in person. But the strategy long term is to really just start honing in on who that customer is. I should have an idea within the next few months and of really who they are, and then really just start targeting their interests and really start collaborating with different influencers and brands to kind of help, to help complement what I'm talking about. We do a lot of education with this issue because a lot of people don't know about it. So that helps us a lot. And with the education, I've seen some opportunities, which I'll be doing soon, to collaborate with a few people, some doctors, as well as other brands to help with, the marketing.
When you were doing your research, were there other, ailments or issues that you sort of saw that were connected to these dyes and these chemicals as well?
Yeah, well, the bottom line is all linked to cancer. Everything always ends with "and cancer." But it was a lot. Most of it had to do with I seen some that had liver issues. Causes liver damage, other reproductive issues, hormone imbalances, skin irritations. A lot of allergies are related to a lot of these.
Psoriasis.
Yeah, and also this is also a big
eczema.
issue for men as well. I've found out that this is, a lot of them said, what about men's? Like, well, I didn't think about that. Most people don't really think about the fact that your underwear could be men's reproductive health. You don't think about men's reproductive health, but this is a big issue for men's. Especially the fact that a lot of men's underwear are made of nylon or synthetic fabrics. So probably even more than women. Well, I wouldn't say that, but it's a big issue as well. And there's a lot of studies that show that there is a direct link between these chemicals and men's reproductive health. So I've definitely seen that a lot.
You're young.
I know. I'm glad I'm getting this information.
Yeah. So
that's why I went commando for 10 years.
Yeah. So
Had two done. Now I got on the road.
I can't. That's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, I hear that as well. Like, I just don't wear anything. I'm like, no, you have to need something. But especially for women. But yeah, it's there's a lot of issues that that affects, and also for children, it also affects reproductive health, developmental health, and I've been seeing a lot of studies showing that effects in behavioral issues, like in certain chemicals. I came across a few studies recently, and this is a widespread issue. I honed in on a reproductive issue because that was something that I was battling with.
Yeah,
and
that's an amazing sort of origin story. Yeah, my mind was more so like, as you start to grow those pockets of, you're saying who that
I definitely
that buyer is.
I definitely think I'll be bringing on men's, because if I ask one more men said, what about us? That has to be the next progression, But of course, that's a few years out. I want to be able to refine the women's category first and make sure that we are, doing well there. Children's, I don't think I would do young children's, but maybe, I can't say never yet, but maybe I would say young adults. I see a lot of moms talking about their tween daughters or their teen daughters they're worried about their health. They're like, I won't buy for me, I'll buy for them because they're young. And a lot of these issues with like fibroids and period health, it start when they're young. Like these young women are going through like debilitating period symptoms, and most doctors say, oh, it's normal. It's not normal, and I think the more that the mother is informed and making right choices for their child, then they have a better chance,
Yeah. Well, it's scary to think, like, you talk about the dyes and everything, that especially for kids, like once they're right out of diapers, it's like Paw Patrol underwear from Amazon, right? Like that's just gotta be disgusting.
Yeah, and most of that, when it comes to kids testing, most of it is like fire hazards and such. They don't really test for the dyes, I believe, or like prints. So prints they use, I want to say it's phthalates that are in prints that is an issue when it comes to, and phthalates are in other categories, and phthalates and as well as parabens. They're in skincare, they're in our intimate care, they're in hair care products, makeup, they're in everything. So when, you're pretty much being exposed to this on various ends, so I couldn't make everything. So I decided to start with the place that's closest to you, the most important part, I would say the reproductive system, but this is a widespread issue across various categories. And especially now that we're kind of going through that greenwashing phase where people are saying, oh, it's green. Okay, it's green. But what about safety? Because it's green doesn't mean it's safe. And for my brand, we put safety first. And safety is our priority. Sustainability is in our core. Like everything we do is about protecting the environment, but we have to protect people as well, so.
Yeah. Have you made any kind of connections, or are there ideal partnerships, of brands that have that kind of shared value?
Yeah, so I have some things happening. I actually been thinking, there's a few feminine care brands that are kind of doing similar things and that I've been talking to, as well as different skincare brands. I think that there could be a great synergy between us, especially, and also laundry care. Laundry detergents can be a thing as well because it gets, used to wash your underwear. So I've been finding...
a whole new sheet. It looks like a dryer sheet, but it's laundry. It's organic. I mean,
I've seen that as well.
Yeah.
So I've been, that's kind of an opportunity as well to connect with some. I found a few brands that could be a great way for us to kind of work together. So I would say within those categories, there are opportunities that I've been looking at. I haven't nailed on anything yet, so I don't want to say which companies, but there are. I definitely say feminine care is probably the biggest one because they're already on the track. They're already creating organic cotton, feminine care products or more sustainable, healthier options. So that just makes sense, and I talk a lot about reproductive and period care, so it just makes sense, I don't think I would be tapping into that market per se with my products, but I would,
but it's a good compliment and certainly a overlapping audience segment there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So those are the kind of categories that I'm looking at, and then maybe venture off later on, like I said, and partnering with like doctors and GYNs. I've been talking to a lot and figure out how we can use their expertise to help, balance, and not even just, help Puure, but also just with the education. That's a big portion of what we're doing. So I'm hoping I can launch a YouTube, next few months, and to really focus on the education side where we're doing videos, talking about these issues, and not make it more like telling you what to do, but kind of just sharing information, and building a community where we can just talk about these things and share what we find. I like to share like a lot of holistic things that I've learned about, or some of the things that I do. I'm a herbal girl. I love teas and I love anything herbs. I mean, my family's Caribbean, so we grew up on just like anything herbal is, is part of daily life,
Yeah.
So my dad's like, oh, try this herb, and this herb does this. And I'm like, okay. So I'm all into that, anything that's natural is kind of what I'm, gravitating towards. So.
Have you thought about going into athletics at all? Compression shorts, women's underwear for like that?
So possibly.
Yeah.
It was funny because I was in a competition recently and I had to come up with a idea that, so there was a company that was doing like a designer's retreat, and they collaborated with Nike, I believe, and they were like, come up with an idea. It was a contest of like, how could you collaborate with Nike? And I had this idea of doing like some kind of sustainable athletic wear, because there's been things that show that athletic wear is probably one of the biggest culprits as well, especially because you're sweating and your pores are, your skin is the largest organ on your body. Everything that when you sweat, it opens up even further. So
100%.
those are mostly polyester-based products that you're wearing and you're sweating in, and it's getting into your pores. So, my idea was to just do something like that where we're creating a product that's clean. Now, you want a performance side of it as well, so it has to be some innovation there to make sure that you're not using too much fabrics that are toxic. But I definitely think it's an opportunity down the line, especially like I wear organic cotton leggings. It's not the most, it doesn't keep you super dry, but it's comfortable and it's breathable. And breathability is important because, when it comes to athletic wear, they say moisture wicking. Moisture, where is the moisture going if it's not in the garment, it's on your skin. So I like to wear fabrics that are breathable, so I'm getting air in there, so the moisture's being, it's kind of moving in and out of the garment. But I think there needs to be a little bit more innovation in what we use. Organic cotton is probably not the best option, but there's so much out there. There's so much plant-based things that are breathable, that fabrics right now that I'm still exploring. I'm doing a lot of R&D on additional products. So I do think it's an opportunity once I get to that point where I'm finding that fabrics that will really work. But it's a big need. I just see the need for it.
I got hit with an Instagram ad for, I guess Joe Rogan's a part of it, but there's a hemp-based t-shirt company.
Yeah, so hemp is a really good fabric.
I was blown away by it. You get it and you're like, oh, this is heavy and it's stiff, and then you wash it twice. This is the most comfortable shirt I've ever had.
Is it? Okay, yeah. So hemp was something I thought about using hemp instead of cotton, because hemp is naturally antimicrobial. So especially down there, it's a great fabric to have. The problem with hemp is that it can be very coarse. And when it comes to underwear, I didn't want to have coarse, uncomfortable underwear.
It's not like shoes where it's just you have to wear them a few times. You're gonna bleed. And
exactly. And that was my only thing with hemp. But I've been seeing some really great things with fabric, so I may be incorporating it soon. But that's probably one of the fabrics I love because it's just the properties. It's more absorbent than cotton. It's breathable and it's antimicrobial naturally. So that's just something that makes sense,
Yeah. Have you run into any unexpected challenges, starting this company, and what were some of those challenges and how did you overcome them?
There's challenges all the time, but I would say I'm extremely blessed with this company because I started this 2 years ago, and I was able to I got so many opportunities, especially moving to Connecticut. I'm like, I should have been this a long time ago. But just the programs that I went through, and I've done a million pitch competitions, and it just made it so easy for me to start because I didn't have to worry about capital up front. And that was the number one hurdle of any business. And that was my biggest challenge in my previous business, is having capital to continue to funnel into these businesses. So continue having the opportunities to kind of be in this atmosphere now. Before this business, I didn't know anything about a pitch competition. We never pitched, we never did accelerator, anything. It's not until I got to Connecticut and went to UConn, I learned about this whole world, and I've been fortunate to kind of go through that of building my business with, funding from this, and it's been helpful. But I would say the challenge right now for me is just at customer acquisition. It's really getting customers to convert. It's getting traffic to my website. It's really kind of getting those sales in. I'm only a few months in. So I launched in January. So although I spent 2 years actually developing the product, I launched my product officially in January, my website. So it's only been a few months, that I've actually been selling. So it's just kind of get the orders coming in. I have inventory. I need to get through my inventory. So that's probably the biggest challenge, I would say. And then also just continuing to find programs to keep funding. I want to start developing new product, which takes funds. I want funds. Research and development takes funds. So, just kind of continuing to ride that wave a little bit, but also just number one is getting customers and getting sales.
What's your current sort of from your current customers, is there a repurchase frequency? Are they
it's not as high right now. I do have a couple of customers that are coming back, and I noticed that they'll try one and then they'll come back and buy the same one again, 3 pairs. I've been noticing that. It's still only a few customers have done that. It's not very high right now, only because it's only a few months in. But also I do a lot of I've been using Klaviyo a lot to help me with automation of triggering an email that says, hey, you purchased one, you made a purchase. Now it's time to make another one, because I've read that, you should be changing your underwear at least once or twice a year, changing out your underwear, especially women, because bacteria can build up in that fabric. No matter how many times you wash it, it can stay in there. So you should be replacing it at least, I would say every 6 months, but, it's up to you. Within a year, you should be kind of changing them out. So I would say, hell yeah, I'll put a lot of information out there about that. I'm like, hey, it's time to place another pair. It's time to buy another pair, or just a refresh or add to your collection, So I've been using Klaviyo a lot to help remind customers to come back and purchase. I have it at a 6-month mark, so I just had
be
6
seeing
months.
soon. Yeah.
So, we'll see how that goes in the next few months, but it's still very early to see what my turn is. But, it's a fun journey. And I think by the end of the year, I have I have a lot of data that I can work with and start making some good decisions.
Who do you look to, I mean, I guess directly, in the marketplace, but as kind of an inspiration, or a model that you'd love to replicate?
That is a good question. Of course, I look at my competitors. Skims is a brand that does basic underwear, and of course, and does so well.
Yeah.
But that's a different animal because she, of course, is a celebrity, and that kind of helped with the brand itself.
Yeah.
But I still look at what they do and how they, make their drops and stuff. I always look at my competitors. I look at my competitors a lot. And when I built my business seeing what are they doing and what are they not doing and what are they doing well. And anytime I have an intern, I say, look at the competitors. What are they doing that you see that I'm not doing yet? Or what are they missing here? And I think that's very important. I look at all of my competitors, but as a reference, I don't know. Like I have so many. I always say, like, I want my brand to be, and I can use a skincare brand. Like, there's a brand, and because she's a Black woman, her name Mayel is a hair care brand. It's not skincare, hair care, and it's Honey Pot, who is another feminine care brand. It's probably and she does plant-based feminine care, organic cotton. She does pretty much what I do on the organic cotton side. These are people I looked at because these are women who came in, they saw a need for something because of their own personal journey, and they built a brand. And Honey Pot is probably the closest than Mayel because of what she's doing and, the whole organic side of it, but they both built their business, they scaled, and they sold.
Yeah.
And that's eventually what I would like to do.
That's what I want to do.
So that is who I would say I look to. And, and of course, unfortunately, as Black women, we get a lot of flack for doing that, not keeping it within, Black business dollars. But those who understand business understand why you have to do that. Yeah. And I'm all for it. Like, I look up to those women for making those bold decisions and taking the flack for it because, people don't understand the market, that business side of it yet. But honestly, that is who I look up to.
Build something, sell it, and you can
continue
to help your community with the next.
And my journey would be,
way, right?
I would say I would do that. I'll build, I'll scale, I'll sell, and then I would go into angel investing.
Yeah.
Because I want to help other people get to where I am as well. That's how you build wealth, you know, and people don't understand that. But I look up, I applaud those women for doing what they do. And it's funny because I even had Honey Pie in my deck. I'm like, they said, how you know it's going to work? I'm like, well, she did it. And look, she did that and she scaled. And I had someone recommended me putting her in one of my pitch decks as a proof of concept. Even if it wasn't underwear, it was still someone who did something very similar.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Where do you see your brand in 3 to 5 years?
So 3 to 5 years, I definitely see myself in retail. Not quite. I think I need a longer timeline to sell, just because CPG is a little slower than, but definitely I would see myself in retail at that point, and also with another category, like adding additional categories. And I would say probably in 10 years, I would probably be at that point where I want to kind of exit, but I would say within 5 years, I'm definitely expanding because I'm not moving very fast right now. When it comes to doing things, because I want to take my time with R&D. I really want to develop a new bra. I really want to create products that women don't feel like they have to trade up. Like they wear padded bras. I don't have a padded bra now because padding is polyurethane, which is not very safe for the body. And breast cancer, it could be, there's no study. I haven't seen a study that linked it, but I'm pretty sure there's something to do with it because your breasts are very porous, So I want to create a bra that's clean, so that's padded and clean. So that's another project, that could be something down the line, and just, just continue to expand. And before I get to the point where I feel like I'm, there.
Yeah.
I mean, just from the outside, like, I'm happy that women have finally kind of taken over their space because, like, you could tell, like, traditional bras were designed by men.
Yeah.
Because, like,
very uncomfortable.
Throw a wire in there.
A wire, but a little support,
Yeah.
Give it a metal buckle in the back.
That'd be fine. Meanwhile, the wire's like inching out in the front when you wash it once, and it's like digging you. Any woman, that's the first thing they do. They tell you to take off their bras as soon as they get home. Like that, take it off, And it's funny because one of the things people say about my bra is that they can sleep in it. And I'm like, I never thought of a thing to sleep in a bra because how uncomfortable it is. But the fact that they can do it in mine makes me feel good because it's that comfortable. But I still think there's more to go with like helping them with support, helping them with, because women, they have heavy breasts and they need support. They need, that back coverage. They need the lift. And, or we just want it to look good, So I still think that there's more there. But yes, I think a woman designing products for women just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because I know how things feel, and I live in it. I test out products myself, Yeah. And I also use people around me to test them. If you have big breasts, put this on. Let me see how it goes. If someone has a large backside, how does is this riding up on you? That's kind of the things that I want to know, So.
Yeah.
I think, the story really, and I love the fact that you're going and you're thinking about doctors and, sort of like that additional credibility to the health aspect. Because it's not even on trend. I mean, people are shifting their mindset to being some, anti-toxins and additives and everything else. I think that's a really powerful story. Your story, plus then, that broader kind of marketplace validation gives you a nice ownable niche, because it's not just some big celebrity that wants to start, a healthy comfort brand or whatever.
I don't know about healthy, but definitely comfort is what I would say, But I think me having my story kind of helps, because it came out of something authentic, which is what people can relate to. Like, I didn't just make this up. Like, this is actually something that I kind of pieced together, and I'm like, God wanted this for me, because the way this popped in my brain, underwear and then chemicals, and I got one project. It's like, wait a minute, there's something here, and to kind of go and start researching, like, oh, this is actually true, was kind of like the aha moment I had, and saying, and it all took me just to go back to get my MBA, which is so funny because someone told me to do this years ago and I didn't listen. Go back and get it was like a woman who was like a prophet. She was doing like a baptism, and she comes to me, she says, go back to school, and I'm like, how does she know? I was thinking,
well,
and years later, here I am.
I mean, everything times out how it's supposed to, right?
Yeah, because I wouldn't have been in Connecticut. I moved here in 2020 in COVID. Now I bought a house, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm here. I might as well go to UConn, and and that's kind of how I ended up here.
Yeah, that's usually what everyone does.
And
go right to you.
Rather than east, huh?
Oh, Jersey?
Or from because you're Yonkers, right?
Yes, I was in Yonkers.
Yeah. Oh, down the island.
Oh yeah, no, the island. So I love Long Island. I love the houses there, but it's too much. Like, one way in, one way out kind of thing. The traffic.
Yep.
Even though Connecticut is no walk in the park when it comes to traffic, especially where I live in Bridgeport, that little strip from Bridgeport to like Stamford is always jam packed, and I'm closer to 95. I'm not on the Merritt side, so that makes it worse. But it was still a good move. I wanted to make some choices after exiting our business, my sister and I wanted to make some decisions. I was in my 30s at the time, and I'm like, I just turned 40, so but it wasn't too far ago. But I was just kind of like, I wanted to make some decisions. Like, we spent a lot of money pouring into this brand. Like I mentioned, I didn't get any funding, so we put a lot of our money into it. I was working at the same time and continuing to funnel money into it. And I was like, I'm missing life. I always had a goal of buying a house and having an investment property and such. And I just wanted to take a break to do that. And that's what I did. I said to her, I was like, I just want to buy a house, and to kind of have an accomplishment other than, funneling money into a business. And that's what I did. She had her other reasons for doing it. She has her own brand as well. She launched a women's clothing line that's doing pretty well for her. And I just wanted to kind of make some kind of life, check off a life goal that I wanted, And that's what brought me to Connecticut. I did try Jersey first. It was very expensive, so I ended up coming this way at the time, because that's when they were like outbidding everyone by like $100,000 outbid. I'm like, there's no way I'm buying a house $100,000 over asking.
Yeah.
So I came to Connecticut, and it was the best decision.
Do you have any customer testimonials that stood out to you since you've launched?
I do. I think the bra was very funny, though I mentioned about them being able to sleep in the bra. Because most women, they say, like, there are some women who like to sleep in bras for whatever support. Maybe they have heavy breasts, or they just feel like it's more comfortable. And the fact that they feel like they don't feel it when they're sleeping to me, is a really great testimonial. That means it's that comfortable. And we wanted to make sure that it was that comfortable. And that was probably the number one thing for me. And then also with the underwear, like I've heard that women say that, it's barely there. And I think that's important. You don't want to feel what things are digging on you or restrictive. And I think that they always say, oh, it's seamless. I'm like, well, it's not seamless. It wasn't built to be seamless. But if it's not showing through your products, your underwear, your clothing, then great. And that wasn't the intention. But I think because we wanted it to seem to be it's flat so it wouldn't be digging, we made it flat and now it kind of sits nicely under clothing. So that was something that we didn't anticipate.
Yeah, barely there, but there.
There,
right?
but not,
Like,
you don't really feel it. But it's protecting you, but not making you feel like you are wearing some kind of protective gear, you know? So.
So if well, I guess say the event, the other businesses, investors, angels, we're trying to get a full spectrum of folks there. And if you move forward and are finalists and win, what's the ultimate outcome kind of looking down at August 20th? Obviously, there's other competitions you've won and there's other routes to funding, but, looking at just how that day could be most beneficial to you, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think when it comes to any competition, it's always great because I get in front of investors, I get in front of people who are, and advisors. Like I'm always looking for people to join the team that are advisors or just someone who wants to help me, when it comes to like, I always say having someone who worked in intimates before, who worked in some kind of CPG company is always beneficial because they can help me make sure that my strategy is going to work. They can give me advice. I'm building a board of advisors currently, trying to bring on people who have experience in various places that could help. So these competitions are great for those types of, environments to find people there. Of course, the funding is helpful. It helped me, with the research and development, bringing on, just kind of working through fine-tuning the next stage of the business, and also some more PR activities like influencers. I haven't really tapped into the influencer market yet, but they are there, and they are an important part of marketing right now and getting, publicity. So would love to be able to tap into some wellness influencers, which can be pretty pricey. And then also,
are there any that you think fit the brand really well that are?
I'm still kind of learning some. I actually had a few that I came across this week. I can't remember names right now, but and also trying to find for the right customer. So I'm kind of dabbling across a few different categories, like a few different people to see like who I think. I had a few people, like I had someone like Tabitha Brown. She's like I don't know if you ever heard of her, but she's done like she's like a Target partnership. She does she's a vegan and she has a lot of like products, like recipes and such like that. And also she has different types of products. Yeah. And
she started as a hairstylist?
Was she? No, I don't know. I don't think she was a hairstylist. I'm not sure. Yeah. But Tabitha Brown, she's a person, I would call her personality. She, I came across her on Instagram. I read her book. She's had an amazing story. But I know that she's a vegan and she talked a lot about her veganism and recipes and such. And then she's branched out to, she's done like products with different companies, partnerships. She has like a children's book. There's a lot of things happening. So I was working with a PR firm for a tiny bit of time just to kind of see how it would go, like on a small scale. And she was representing her. And she allowed me to send my products to her. And she made a post saying, I finally got them for my vacation. She laid the product out and tagged me, and I got like over 100 followers in like within an hour. And I'm like, just someone like that. And it's not because she is affiliated with this, which I would say because she's vegan, she may be, a good person, but I don't in that wellness category, but maybe for food. Yeah. I don't really see her talking about like clean product, clean beauty, but just the fact that she had that pull already, that customer base was important. And I think that I'm trying to find the balance of, do I find someone who's in a wellness space or someone who I have to be able to do both, Yeah. So I think she was a great start because of her network she has right now. But also the fact that they know that her products are usually, they're going to be quality. They're going to be products that are built with integrity. So if she's promoting a product, you would think that what she's promoting is going to actually be something of integrity, something clean and, such. So I think that was, honestly, I was so happy that she did that. And, I was surprised. I just said, because I'm used to, like when we did our women's clothing brand, I worked with a lot of celebrity influencers. I wouldn't say influence, celebrities. And it was a different animal. We had like special occasion clothing. We would send them to the stylist. The stylist would put it on the celebrity. The stylist would send it back. I can't. They call it pulling pieces. I can't do that with underwear. Yeah. So and then also I'm in a space where like that's kind of that world, and that's kind of still how it works. You can have a celebrity wear your clothes, and like I remember having like a celebrity wear my piece one weekend. I had one celebrity wore our piece 3 pieces in one weekend. And I got, our orders just kept coming and coming and coming. I remember I was on vacation and my phone just kept dinging, my Shopify kept going off. And I'm like, what happened? I'm like, oh my gosh, she wore another piece, and it was on our site. And they literally, it was a synergy of she wore it, a blog picked it up. That blog was Fashion Bomb Daily at the time. And automatically, they're like, who wore it? They would tag us and the orders would start flooding in.
Yeah.
And that was just that's kind of probably still how it works with the fashion, but when it comes to underwear, it's a little different. And also now I'm in the wellness space, which is a little different. It's not really fashion forward. It's not that, romanticized as they do with fashion. So it's a bit of a struggle. So for me, it's just trying to find that synergy right now. I can't just use celebrities. Unless I just gift it to them and hope that they wear it,
So the balance, right, is kind of weighing how many PR boxes you're going to do versus,
because that's an expense for me, like whereas before I can just create a bunch of samples, size run of samples and send it out and get it back, dry clean it and get it back. That's kind of how we did it. And that's how the process works. It wasn't something abnormal, but now I can't do that. I have to send free underwear. And I'm like, all right, so I have to just make sure I order enough, PR samples so I have, and not tapping into my inventory. So that could be a struggle. Yeah. But that's all things that I knew ahead of time. So I try to work in, make sure I budget for. And that's the thing for me this time around. I'm making sure I budget for every dollar. Like that. Financial planning is probably the most important for me here because I want to make sure that I don't miss a beat when it comes to being able to afford these things, especially because I started out with a pot of money and I'm just want to make sure that I didn't waste anything. So having a full budget, from the very beginning was important. And I would say I was pretty good with forecasting. I'm a salesperson at heart. That's what I do for a living, and I do budgets all day. Yeah. So what are you going to make next year? You have to kind of start planning. And I think me tapping into that really helped me a lot. So
what's your split in time right now?
So I do work
nights and weekends?
I do work full time. So yes, so yeah. I am, and I'm still doing my MBA. So it's very hard.
Oh wow!
I'm always tired, but I'm almost done with the MBA, and everything comes in season. So
you got those herbs.
Yeah, I got the herbs to me up. I'm making sure I'm staying healthy. I'm not trying to eat junk, so I'm keeping my energy up. But right now, the split is hard. I'm working full time, but I do it's nice on weekends. Honestly, I wake up early to get things done. I also utilize interns, which are a lifesaver. Interns, honestly. And I love bringing on interns because I like to teach people, ironically, help people in ways. And when they come on board, they're like, oh, wow, this is really cool because they're watching me build a business. We're actually doing marketing. I have them physically building content, and I'll work with them. Say, this is what I normally do. This is how I do it. Yeah. We're building, marketing plans and schedules so that we know, okay, we're going to have this day, that day, we're going to post this. So I love bringing on interns. And right now, I think I'm going to bring on 3. I have 3 that I just confirmed. But it's going to be a lot balancing as well because you have to teach them and you have to show them what you want. But I think that's the biggest help. If I can have them someone helping me build the content that I have to do for marketing, someone over here doing the blogs and the marketing and the blog posts and the Pinterest and making sure that I'm using the right keyword, and someone else doing the ads, that's an ideal situation, So I work with a lot of schools to get interns if they need credit. Internship credit. I work with schools to do that, and I've been doing that since I started, and it's been very helpful. I've probably had maybe 6 interns so far, and I have 3 more coming on board, which is a lot, I would say, but I know I need the help because I want to expand, and I need to be able to continue to pump out content, and also tap into digital marketing. I've not started that yet, and it's because it takes time,
Well, now, with all the different channels, trying to keep up with the content is tough.
So much. TikTok is just it's tough because it's more authentic content. I'm like, I have to record. I should have been recording. I should have brought my tripod. I've been recording myself here, but I didn't. But so things like that is just trying to remember to do things and build that authentic content, which is tough. But I'm getting there. Once I remember it, I do get some good feedback. I did since I went to the Essence Festival a few weeks ago, I got some good content there, and I've been posting that still on my TikTok, and I've been getting some good feedback. And I'm thinking of doing a series of kind of day in the life of an entrepreneur / person who works full time still, that kind of thing, a 9-to-5 / entrepreneur / MBA student. Because, if I find time to actually record myself and edit these videos, it could be a really good series, It shows the stresses of balancing your life, Yeah. So, but there's a lot to do, and I'm just enjoying the process as much as I can. Although I'm busy, I enjoy it. So,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, we're happy for you. The story is wonderful, and the fact that you're actually creating a product that is safer and has the potential to contribute to a healthier generation of women and maybe men down the line is really inspiring, and we appreciate you coming on and talk to us.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah,
And I'm
thank you so much.
excited for August 20th.
Yeah.
Us too.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.